Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. Tonight, I'm happy to be speaking with Jess Duesler, the head softball coach of Gulf Coast High School in Naples, Florida. Coach Duesler, once again, thank you so much for taking some time out to speak tonight. Congrats on your success.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've been there, I think, over a year at Gulf Coast High School as a head softball coach. Wanted to ask you how everything has been, going for you, Coach, in terms of, working with athletes, the rest of the coaching staff. I guess if you can just let everyone know out there about the team.
Excellent. Thanks. It's been a little bit of an adventure. It's definitely they've had a few coaches over the last few years. So I think that's always a struggle, just developing that consistency. So while I will admit that we definitely underperformed based on the amount of individual talent we have, I think it takes a while to build a culture, to just get the team chemistry and build a culture of winning within a school. So I'm really excited to help contribute to that.
Yeah, that's terrific. As you said, it's a massive, I said undertaking in terms of there's so much that's involved in terms of a program. Talk about that in terms of, with the players, with the assistant coaches, practices, game day. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, so many components. Just talk about what is a daily routine, involved for you, Coach Duesler.
I will say it's a little bit challenging. I don't work at the school during the day. So, okay, being on the outside and then having to, just communicate with the girls and communicate with the staff. I'm very lucky. The athletic director has been incredibly supportive and helpful. But there is a lot that goes into it. Coming in as a new coach, I was responsible for hiring the entire staff. Some of the coaches that were there previously weren't able to commit to the same level that we were, needing this past year. And then one of our key coaches moved away. So I was responsible for hiring an entirely new staff. I was very fortunate because I've previously coached in the area. I had a few girls that I had coached in another location in Naples that were, recent college grads, had spent some time playing college softball, that were ready to get into the coaching sphere. So while I had some young coaches, they've got a lot of knowledge and, we had a history. So they understood, my expectations and what I want for my system. But, you always have to tweak things when you come into a new place. You got to work with the personnel that you have. You want to respect the existing culture within the school and kind of find that right mix of tweaking things to make them successful and to make them work with my system, but also to kind of respect the school and the history that's there. So it was definitely challenging. Came into a program with 6 seniors returning. So that's a large number of, seniors that I only got to spend 1 year with. Quite a few of them had did transition on to play college softball, and even the ones that didn't had the ability to. So we had a lot of talent, but again, sometimes that can be a bigger struggle is, when you have that many kids that are really quality kids and getting the young kids to buy in, because that you have 6 kids that are only going to be with you for 1 year. And while they've earned that spot, you've got to work hard to make sure that you're preparing that next generation so that your team can be successful long-term. So a lot of work with new coaches. The program did not previously have a junior varsity program, and that was something that we were really passionate about bringing back, because I feel like ultimately you can't grow to be a successful program if you don't have any type of feeder. So we really needed to build that program up. So we were glad that we did field a JV program last year. So again, another coach to hire to support that. And in my mind, really, it was just a matter of just getting everybody to work as a team. And I think in all of softball, any coach will agree with you. You got to be able to pitch and catch to be really successful. So that was a lot of our focus last year. We had 1 senior and then a lot of really young girls. So we're really excited about having the majority of them returning for this coming year. So it's been a work in progress.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's just building that foundation and, getting these kids, that experience under the belt. And, hopefully, as I said, you see the results pay off here, as I said, sooner than later. I was just wondering, Coach, what made Gulf Coast, as I said, high school the perfect fit for you? I just wondering when, you took over.
Honestly, it wasn't something I expected to do. I was
Mhm.
actually working as an assistant coach. I'd previously been a head coach in other schools in the area.
Yeah.
Stepped away from it because of my job. I had a young family, and I was
Hmm.
working as an assistant coach and a pitching coach at another high school in the county. And I really thought that I was just going to stay there for a while and enjoy being an assistant and doing that. But a friend of mine had previously been the coach at Gulf Coast High.
Okay.
And I was reaching out to some of the local coaches because, in general, I was looking to just build up the game. And part of that to me is encouraging young pitchers and catchers. Because, like I said, we can't be successful if we don't have kids that can pitch and catch.
Yeah.
So I was really trying to make that a community effort. And I was trying to reach out to all of the local head coaches and get them on board with doing some free clinics and just getting more involved with our Little League and our feeder programs to kind of support that effort. And when I reached out to the coach at Gulf Coast High School, he said, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you because it seems like you've really got the energy and the drive to build a successful program. And I have a lot of great kids here, but I'm about to retire from coaching."
Okay.
And he was also aware that I had recently moved to the area. So it was kind of like just an opportunity I couldn't refuse. Had some good conversations with, the administration at Gulf Coast High School, and felt like it was a really supportive environment and a great challenge also, because Gulf Coast is a very large high school and they've had a
Mhm.
lot of athletic success, but historically their softball program has underperformed. So they haven't, they don't have as many district titles or playoff titles as they probably should. So
Mhm.
it was an exciting challenge for me to kind of step in there and build that, because there are kids who are very passionate about the sport. So it just kind
Yeah.
of fell into my lap, and it was an offer I couldn't refuse.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And I think that's so critical. Talk about the feeder program, those clinics, the summer camps, those are so vital. If you want kids, as you said, to participate and play for a number of years, just again, come up through that pipeline. I think that again, that just really benefits, the program as well, coach.
Absolutely. I know I'm might be the unpopular opinion here, but I
Mhm.
grew up in this town, and while it is a wealthy area, that is not my background. And some of the softball these days is very costly.
Mhm.
To play competitive softball at some of the highest levels, it is very expensive. And I know if that was the case when I was a kid, I would not have gotten the opportunity to play in college and to continue to love the sport the way I do. So I'm
Mhm.
pretty passionate about providing like quality instruction and opportunities for kids at different levels, because I think there's a lot more kids that could be successful in the sport, but maybe they're priced out, especially because we're at a little bit of a shortage on quality travel ball teams in our local vicinity. We're starting to change that. We're definitely getting a lot more competitive teams popping up. But historically, for at least the last 10 years, some of our top softball players in the area are traveling and playing on teams anywhere from 2 to 5 hours away from here. And that's
Yeah.
just not a commitment that the typical family can make. So a few girls that I grew up with playing softball feel the same. And we've kind of tried to work together and encourage more affordable opportunities here locally.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And I see that you've been also a pitching instructor for a long time, 18 years. I mean, that's really got to, I said have an impact on these kids as well. The fact that you can teach some of those, definitely those fundamentals and skills to them as well, Coach Duesler.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm very lucky because there's a lot of divided opinions about the style of pitching that should be taught in
Mhm.
fast pitch softball. And I grew up being taught kind of the old fashioned way. And then in college, I was asked to transition to the more modern, scientifically kind of supported style of pitching, internal rotation. And so I do have a background in both. And
Okay.
I'm really trying to provide more options for kids locally that are looking to, try a different style of pitching, which is really what you're seeing from the top girls at the top levels in, the Women's College World Series. So I'm trying to support that effort. I did step away from it and, wasn't doing as much individual instruction for a few years just because of work and family, but there really is a need. And I really just kind of started again based on requests from kids and families and people I might work with at a camp. And they're just like, hey, could we do some more work with you? So I think if there's kids out there that are committed and they want to put the work in, they should have the resources to get that support. So it has been a great experience for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so to go back to Gulf Coast High School in terms of the administration, athletic department, principal Kimberly Lonergan and Alan Scott, director of athletics, just talk about that. You need, of course, a solid structure in place in terms if you want, again, to build that winning culture and environment. Just talk about from them what they've meant to you in terms of that support system.
Yeah. They have just been absolutely incredibly supportive. It is definitely not, coaching high school sports these days is not easy. You do not make everybody happy. Everyone is not your biggest fan. And I think that's pretty much in coaching throughout. Someone once told me that if you're making everybody happy, then, you're probably not doing the best that you can, because you have to push kids. You have to play the kids who have earned it. You have to, work towards team culture, and there's a lot of factors, and you can't make everyone happy all the time. But if you're there for the right reason, and if you truly have the best interest of the team as a whole, and ultimately the individuals as well in mind, hopefully they will eventually see that, and they will see that success, and they will learn those really valuable life lessons. And Alan Scott, the athletic director at Gulf Coast High School, has been tremendously supportive. He has been, excellent source of just reinforcement, support, whatever we need. They really believe in a winning culture, but they also believe in the need to support each other throughout the school, like coaches supporting coaches, different athletic teams supporting each other, and really just building a strong school culture. Because once you have that culture and you have that support and that energy around athletics, you are going to be successful. You're going to encourage more kids to play. You're going to encourage more fans to come out. It's really just a domino effect to success. So I can't say enough about them. The principal as well, incredibly supportive, because they just want what's best for kids, and kids want to play sports. They want to be competitive, and they want to have a lot of school pride, and they have done nothing but be supportive in our work towards that.
Yeah, you definitely hit it right there on the head. School spirit, that's so important to have that in place, and then as you alluded to, having, the rest of the kids come out to the games, you have the parents, you have the rest of the community as well. And I wanted to ask you as well that, again, you coached at previous spots, head softball coach at, I don't know if it's Lilly High School in Naples, Florida, overseeing the varsity and JV teams. And you know what? You had a lot of multitasking I could see, involved there,
Absolutely.
Coach Duesler, with skill development, practice playing, assisting, college planning, and fundraising. And that, that's what I really wanted to dive into, was the role of a student athlete. It's more than just being a course an athlete. It's being a student as well. And that's not, easy, to balance that out. It's not, every kid is not cut out for that type of role. Just talk about that, again, how that factors in that component as well.
I think that's actually something that I'm pretty passionate about. I think a lot today, kids feel like really travel ball is like their path to college. But in my personal experience and in the communications I've had with some college coaches, they do get seen from a recruiting perspective during the summer, because that's when colleges aren't playing. But honestly, the best representation of what you will experience at the next level is playing high school ball, where you are representing your school, you are interacting with the kids on your team every day, you're interacting with, your teachers all are supporting the same institution that you represent on the field. So it really is a wraparound experience. You have to be very wary of social media and your behavior out in the community, because you are you're a recognizable face. And it's a lot of pressure for kids these days. There is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways that kids can make silly mistakes because they're kids and that's what they do. And having that kind of, visibility because they're a student athlete is huge. And the culture of just wanting to excel and take every advanced class and AP class and be in every kind of group and committee and activity, it puts a lot of pressure on these kids. And ultimately, they just need to learn, you have to manage time, you have to make choices, and ultimately you need to decide what are your future goals and make decisions that support those. So I try to give kids a certain amount of, autonomy in making those decisions, but then there's always going to be repercussions. So if, softball is not a priority, and obviously grades and academics are always, but they're just involved in so many activities, sometimes multiple sports, and you've just got to decide what is most important. And those decisions are going to impact things that happen on the diamond as well. So I really think it's all about life lessons, teaching them how to manage their time, how to make sure that, hey, if we've got an hour in between school and practice, like, are we doing something with our academics? Are we making sure that we're getting our assignments done? We're actually putting that time to good use and not just hanging out waiting for practice to start. So I think there's a lot of valuable life lessons kids get in sports and managing time for academics. But I think that whole high school experience is probably more valuable than a lot of kids even comprehend at this stage in their life, because if they really do want to go to the next level, it is a teaser for exactly what they're going to experience there.
Yeah, you really need to be that well-rounded person. Just again, as you said, really live it, that experience, because it flies by so quickly. 4 years, and then before you know it, you're graduating, you're on to college. And that's what they ask athletes all the time: is time management and organization. How do you do it? Because between the practices, watching film, the games itself, as you said, that the hours are just, there's only so many given hours in a day. So you're really taxed there, in terms of how much you can commit to, of course, the educational part of it. I'm so impressed by your background, like the fact that 15 years spent in the Collier County Public School System as assistant school administrator, teaching those advanced classes. I'm sure, again, then also at your alma mater, Lilly High School. Just talk about that as well. You have, I said, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. Just talk about how much that is really played, said in terms of being able to, talk to the kids about that, said on either individual or even as a team as well.
Yeah, I have a pretty unique ability to, I've had to manage schools and I've had to kind of oversee all of the things. So I definitely have more of that, 3,000-foot view than the typical coach, because I've had to be responsible for all the coaches and, just helping to oversee a school. But I definitely think it's a valuable experience. And, even now currently, I work for ACT, the college readiness exam. So talking to kids about test preparation and just the things that they need to do to prepare themselves to look good to prospective coaches if they're really looking to go to the next level. But I also think just my background and my experience allows me to have a pretty good knowledge about the right choices to make, really understanding pretty thoroughly the whole recruiting process, meeting all of the, clearinghouse eligibility rules. I really do have an in-depth background of education and, from a leadership perspective. So it's been great. And, it was a lot of hard work getting there. So the things, being that I am not currently working at Gulf Coast High School, I'm still very familiar with the way the school system that I work for operates. So it's valuable. If I wasn't as familiar, it would probably be a lot more difficult to be a coach that is not inside the school. There's definitely some difficulty that arises with that.
What's so unique, and I had to point this out, is that you've taught, of course, psychology, sociology. We always talk about the physical part of athletics, softball, but the mental part, I had to ask you that, because if you're not really have your head on and in tune, you really can get lost in the shuffle. And I just had to ask you that's just creates another interesting, dynamic. Just talk about that as well, Coach Duesler.
Yeah, honestly, I've taken a couple of career path, changes throughout my adult life. And at one
Yeah.
point, I was actually really interested in being a sports psychologist. So, with my undergraduate background in psychology. So, I do have a lot of background in psychology, and I think it absolutely applies.
Mm.
I think it really helps you understand the dynamics of, interactions between kids. And as much as you would like softball to be the absolute most important thing that any kid is dealing with at any given moment when they're at practice or they're, in a game,
Yeah.
that ultimately that's just not always possible, even if they want it to be. And especially in this post-COVID world and everything that's going on, there's just so many things that can impact kids. And I think just being in tune with, what are their emotions and what are they feeling like today, and being able to read like something's not right and address that, because I am a firm believer that ultimately you need to build relationships with kids. They need to understand that you care about them as a human being outside of their sports accomplishments, that you care about their overall life success. And once they know that you care about them in that way, it's a lot easier for them to accept some of the decisions you might make that they don't really care for, that
Yeah.
don't positively impact them. So I think just teaching me the value of relationship building and that dynamic, that whole team dynamic and that interaction, I think is huge. And you just can't understate the importance of that. All of the top programs throughout the country do spend a lot of time building that team chemistry and community. And I've been very fortunate just because of my background and some of my former coaches coaching at the college level, and just being able to pick their brains and, hey, you guys are at the highest level and you're experiencing some success. What are some things that you are doing? And I am constantly willing to learn and take, new things and try them and implement them, because I just truly believe in the importance of building that strong culture underlying all of their athletic abilities.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That really is. I think that's so key, as you said, because building that. I've always asked, building that team chemistry. It's just, and if kids are together, year after year, 4 years, it's so crucial. I just have a couple more, and I love it. I said I often said I picked out. You had this phrase. I'm an educator and coach. I have a passion for working with young people, using my experience in leadership, education, athletics to improve the outcomes of athletes. I think, ultimately you want kids to be productive members of society. And as you said, life lessons, this is just way beyond, of course, the playing field. It's real life. And as you said, social media, COVID. I mean, there's so much that goes on. I mean, I especially COVID, and we're still in the midst of this. I mean, it's still not over yet. And the fact that these kids still have to deal with this on a daily. So that, and I'm just wondering for you, and then, to have these kids come back, also down the road and give back to the program as well in the high school. I think that's what you want to see, to have that full circle moment as well, Coach Duesler.
Absolutely. It really makes me proud, of these kids. When I actually hear them, kind of go out and in their own words, repeat some of the things that, we tried to instill upon them, makes me incredibly proud. And it makes me think, these are intelligent young women who have gone to college and had other life experiences. And the fact that they still buy into some of these concepts that we, thought were so important when I coached them years ago, really makes me proud of them. It makes me proud of what we've done with our program, and the fact that kids do, by choice, want to come back and continue to be involved. It is there's probably no higher compliment. You want to imagine that kids would like to continue to be around you when they don't have to anymore. And it definitely is an incredibly good feeling to feel that.
Yeah, definitely very satisfying. And I wanted to ask you about coaching. You've coached, of course, volleyball, now softball. Just some of the intangibles that stand out in terms of coaching. I've asked coaches whether it's a game or it's a practice. It can just be an interaction, with the athletes. What is it about, you obviously, as you said, you have a drive, you have a passion for this sport.
Yeah.
Just talk about that, what that has meant to you, personally. And then, of course, women in sports, we talk about, that's another topic itself that, carrying that mantle as well, and, promoting it, also. So just wanted to get your perspective, Coach Duesler.
Yeah, I think that being a part of sports has been such an important part of my life. There are so many things that I do every single day in every job that I've ever had as an adult that I can really trace back to the lessons that I learned playing sports. So I find so much value in that. And sometimes it's easy to let, life get in the way and just, I'm busy with my kids and I'm working a lot of hours at my job. And yet when I get out on the field with these girls, I can forget all of that. It is an absolute mentally clearing, just in the heat of the moment. I love competition. Honestly, I think my competitive nature has driven me to be successful in most things in life. And I see, while I'm pretty sure competition came fairly naturally to me, it doesn't to everyone. And that's been something that's really enjoyable to me, whether it was in volleyball or softball, is just teaching kids to be competitive and teaching them how to compete and creating those types of environments where they learn how to get excited about the competition. But it's also huge, just, you see a few kids sometimes and they just have that it factor, some of those intangibles. To me, it's really hard to find kids that are incredibly athletically talented, but that are also the most coachable and hardworking kids. And those are the kids that always stand out to me, the kids that have both of those things. It comes easy to them. It is very natural, but at the same time, they are just as committed as everyone else, if not more, to put in the work and to listen. I think that's kind of the combination that really makes some kids great.
Yeah, no, well said. Okay, Coach Duesler, before you get the final word, we talked about family, and I said it's not easy. It's 24/7, 365. Yeah, you're a wife, you're a mom. I know that I'm a father of two kids. I had to ask you that how you're able to balance this out. I mean, this is not easy. It's very demanding in terms of what you do. Can you just talk about what they've meant to you, along this journey here?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it is hard, and I'm incredibly lucky that, I have a job where a certain amount of the work is flexible. So I can very easily be found, putting in work at 10, 11 o'clock at night when the kids are asleep, to make sure that things are getting done. So the flexibility of my job is great. And that's something that was important to me, to have that job, just to be available to my kids. But I'm very fortunate. My husband is a baseball guy. He's a baseball coach. He also coaches soccer. So he knows that drive. And I think it's, I'm really passionate about it. I really enjoy doing it. I enjoy building those relationships with kids and helping them make it to the next level, whatever that level is for them. If it's just college, if it's life, if it's whatever it is, I just enjoy helping kids achieve their goals. And my family sees that. And I think it's important for my kids to see that I'm committed to doing something that makes me happy. And it's just all about finding balance. I love getting them involved. My daughter is 7 and my son is about to turn 10. Okay. And we also, I'm hoping my daughter's about to start playing softball herself. So I'm just excited to, see what that brings into the dynamic of our family. That's going to be pretty interesting. It's never easy to be coached by your mom, but that's what I'm hoping.
That's wonderful. Hey, this is the one popped into my head just now before you do get the final word, is that when the players, they put on that Gulf Coast high school jersey and they go out there, what you want them in terms of represent. I mean, of course they're high school, but just what that jersey represents. I just had to ask you about that, Coach Duesler.
Yeah. To me, I really hope it represents playing for something bigger than yourself. Being, caring more for the good of, the team than you as an individual, being able to lay it all out on the line, but also at the same time, having incredible sportsmanship, winning and losing with class, but essentially just going out, and if you're making sure that you are proud of the effort that you're putting in daily to achieve those goals. And if you play to the best of your ability, being proud of that performance, regardless of the outcome. You know, I'm definitely not someone that doesn't care about winning. Winning is very important to me, but I think winning is the result of all the hard work that you've put in. But at the same time, I can look at a team that played their heart out and that worked hard to get to that point and played to the best of their ability. And, you know, being proud of that effort, even if it didn't end in a win, but just knowing that you are representing something and you are putting in that effort every day to put a quality product out on the field.
Yeah, again, well said. Okay, Coach, so you get the final word here for family, friends, of course, the Gulf Coast High School softball team, the school, the fan base out there, and most importantly, the community of Naples, Florida. The floor is yours, Coach Duesler.
I'm just really excited to see what this year brings. This is actually the 25th year of Gulf Coast High School being open. Okay. So this is a year when we have a lot of alumni coming back and, you know, celebrating the school being a quarter of a century old. And I just am really excited at the idea of putting in a product on the field that those alumni can be proud of. So I'm hoping that as a group, as we're getting all of those returning alumni and that attention, that we can put a product together that they will definitely be proud to say they're an alumni from that school.
Yeah, that's terrific. Hey, Coach, it was just an incredible honor and privilege being able to speak with you again. Congratulations on your success at Gulf Coast High School, and, you know, wishing you said all the best, you know, moving forward with the team.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.